That's the Dungeness nuclear power plant behind me. I shall be on my best behavior. Be a couple hours and I'll be in Dover. Dover port control, port control. This is the sailing vessel Isabel. Good day.
Port control.
Isabel is 2 nautical miles to the southwest, requesting a western entrance. Over.
Isabel, continue to close on the western entrance. Call me again when you're 200 meters.
Roger that, I'll call again at 200. Busy, we got several passenger ferries coming in and out of Dover right now. Other traffic. Port control, Isabel is 200 out. Foxtrot number 129. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm fine. Well, behind me, I'm sure I can't see it, I have just left the port of Dover, which was just incredibly busy. I felt like I was in the airport traffic control zone on the radio all the time. And right over here, yep, those are the White Cliffs of Dover, so famous. So now just a short sail today to Ramsgate to be well positioned across the Thames Estuary tomorrow. Ramsgate control, this is sailing vessel Isabel. Isabel, good afternoon. Isabel is 1.2 miles east, requesting permission to enter and proceed to the yacht marinas.
Okay, proceed towards Ramsgate, maintenance is the watch on channel 14. So you're approaching buoy number 5 and number 6. Could you give me another call, please, sir?
I'll call again at buoy number 5 and 6. Ramsgate Marina. This is sailing vessel Isabel. Isabel, good afternoon.
Vessel calling Marina, go ahead, over.
Yes, Isabel is a sailing vessel 12 meters by 4 meters with 2 meters of draft, and I'm looking for a berth for one night.
So you go to E row, that's Echo row. Available berth, over.
Echo row in the Western Marina. Well, here we are. I've just finished a somewhat stressful crossing of the Thames Estuary. Lots of sandbars and channels and major cargo ships. And I'm about to enter into the harbor where is Felixstowe, and that's what you see over there. And these big ships, there's a container coming out, and there's a cruise ship right behind him that's coming out as well. So some traffic that you don't want to get in the way of here. So they tell us to enter by staying outside of the channel. So I've got the buoys on the wrong side here that I'm coming to, but there's plenty of water around them, so I'm not worried about it. That's part of the fun of going to a new place. They scare you. Suffolk Yacht Harbor. Suffolk Yacht Harbor. Well, I've been sailing up the English coastline now, which is very close here, for a couple of days. I'm pulling into the port of Lowestoft this afternoon, and I'll rest up there a day, and then I'm going to start making some longer leaps going out into the North Sea up along the coast, so I can make a little better time here. The thing that dominates coastal navigation along the east coast of I'm sure it's both coasts actually, of the UK, are the tides. You just don't go anywhere if you haven't got the tide right, because they are so strong. Look, it's a very calm day. It is probably 10 or 12 knots. I've got full sails out. 10 or 12 knots of wind. And I don't know if you can read that there, but I'm doing speed over ground 8 knots. 8 knots. 9 or 10 knots of apparent wind at 120 degrees. So it's the tide that's you just get on the escalator and you just take it for a ride. But if you're trying to go the other direction, good luck. Or I crossed yesterday it was actually the Thames Estuary. The Thames Estuary is this body of water that leads into the Thames River that goes to London up in that direction. There's quite a number of rivers there actually, but and it's characterized by numerous sandbars with deep channels between them. The ships go up and down, so there's very heavy traffic. The sandbars are very dangerous, and the tide is vicious. And there's wind farms there, and there's all kinds of hazards, and dozens and dozens of wrecks that are there from history. So you have to be very, very careful. And I have to tell you, I was quite anxious about that passage, and I spent a lot of time planning it and looking at all of the charts, and it all came off perfectly, without incident. But it wasn't stress-free, I have to tell you that. Royal Norfolk Harbor. I cast off my lines this morning at 5:30 to catch the tide, and I'm heading towards Scarborough. I've got some errands to run there, parsley, sage, rosemary, some thyme. The youngsters won't get that one. Anyway, on my way to Scarborough. That's about a 24-hour passage, so I'll be going this night through the wind farms and the oil fields, so it should be an interesting evening. One of the criticisms I hear quite often from people who really don't know Bavaria is they say, oh, well, it's so slow, you know, it's they're painful, you know, and that's just not true. They go along very well. Look at this, I'm doing 7.8 knots now on a beam reach with 15 knots of apparent wind. 7.8 on a beam reach, that's fine, you know, and it goes up to 8.5, you know, with a gust and all that. And I've got a single reef in. Right now I'm going to put the second reef in because it's been rounding up a little bit overpowered. I've got a long ways to go, so I don't want to get fatigued and all that. And I want to show you something I do, because when I want to do the reef, when I put the reefs in, because of the lazy bag, I can't see the reef point very well. I can't see the reef point, and it ends up the leech reef point ends up floating quite a bit. Because if I guess wrong, if I get it 6 inches too high, or you know. So what I did, and this works really well, I've got one reef in right now. I mark the halyard, you see, and that's the single reef point, and that's just a perfect place for it. And that means that the rear reef point will be just exactly where I want it to be. And now I'm going to drop it to the second reef, and you can see it's on the winch right here. You see those 2 points there. I'm going to put those 2 points in exactly the same place here, and that should give me a very nice second reef. The positioning, I mean, of the different points. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Hey, you see where the second reef point ended up, the red line there? Just perfect. And that's what I did. I just put the second reef mark on the halyard right there. The boat is a little more under control, and we're going the same, or maybe even slightly faster, 8 knots. So, second reef done.
Where the post is,
I see it, yep.
avoid the post, yeah, keep this. Otherwise we'll stop dead.
No, I'm taking it back in.
I'd say just watch the grid here, mate, because this is the grid here. That's how it's done.
I was nervous about that one, guys. Yeah, yeah. Woo!
Nice one, Skip.
That worked well. Thank you very much. This is an interesting one. This is a cargo ship that is about 3 miles away, and we're on a collision course. He's not in a channel. There's no channel here. So do I give way? Do I move, or do I just maintain course and speed and be as predictable as possible? This is where this, you know, technically that's the right answer. We'll see what he does. Fortunately, it's good weather. That's him, that black spot on probably all the camera can see. That's him. I watch him really closely. You always hate to turn to port, which is really my only option here. Because if I turn to port and then he turns to starboard, then we're going to be head to head. So I'm supposed to maintain course and speed, and he's supposed to alter course slightly to starboard to pass behind me. Let's see how this plays out. Well, he did what you're supposed to. At about 3/4 of a mile away, he turned to starboard, and now he'll pass aft of me. So that was a case where I held my nerve. I know some people aren't real comfortable with this. They say, you know, the rule of gross tonnage, or might makes right. But that's what the rule is. The rule is sailboat has priority. The sailboat is the stand-on vessel, and that's what I try to do, is make myself as predictable as possible. Coming into the port of Blyth.